Well, here we are down in the first team physio room at the training ground with physiotherapist Tim Maynard. Quite a busy time for you at the moment, Tim. Some good news to talk about first of all. Good to see Alex Woodyard out there with his right calf. It's getting there now, isn't it?
Yeah, so Woody's worked really hard. He's been really diligent with all his work and what he's been up to in terms of all the process since that injury back in March. Obviously, we've had a few little setbacks along the journey, which has been super frustrating for everybody involved. But it's nice to see him back out there and kind of buzzing around and ratting around with the lads, and I'm sure he's very delighted with all of that as well, and can't wait to really get fully going, which is really not far away now, which is wonderful news. With someone that's been out for as long as he has, then it's important that we have some element of just building him into what he's doing rather than allowing just full rein, because again, it's just a matter of balancing how much he's doing each session, and that's kind of what myself and Chris and the coaching staff have kind of made sure that load is just a transitional one, and it just kind of flows into that full training so that his body can tolerate what it needs to tolerate when it comes to the games and the matches and stuff like that.
And he's easing back in as well with Luke Jenkins, who's had the hamstring injury, and Josh Hallard, who's had the ankle reconstruction. Two very talented youngsters who've been a bit unlucky.
Yeah, so obviously both obviously Josh and Luke have been out for a while now, and they've kind of worked really hard, and again very kind of focused with the work they've had to do in the gym and the time they've had to spend doing the hard yards in terms of the simple little exercises to start with, but then building up into the more functional sport specific stuff later on. But they've both been around that kind of 10 to 12 week mark where they've had to work on their injuries since that kind of, well, I think Josh did his in pre-season, and then Luke did his just a couple of weeks after Josh, and they've kind of worked quite hard together, which is great work for them.
So as you said, it is a very busy time for you at the moment. We've spoken about Alex Woodyard, but Alex Pearce, the man who's been wearing his captain's armband since the start of the season, how's he coming along?
So Pearce, he injured his groin playing against Bradford in the first couple of minutes. Fortunately, it's nothing too severe. It's just going to he's taking a little bit of time to settle. He's kind of almost thereabouts at the moment, but we just need to start exploring what he can do kind of with the ball basically and kind of running wise, and so that's kind of where we're at. We just need to figure out his timeline and kind of his availability for potentially Walsall or Sutton and go from there really.
Another man who's worn that captain's armband in the past, Will Nightingale. Everybody's feeling for him at the moment. It's a tough time for him again.
Yeah, so I've got full kudos for Will and how he's played the majority of that game with that injury against Bradford. He's done incredibly well. He's absolutely put his body on the line, which is all that everyone at this club asks, and he's done that more for anyone than anyone else, I think. So he unfortunately is going to be out for about 2 to 3 months, I think, with just allowing all the different components that he has with his injury just to settle. So at the moment he's on crutches and in a brace, just to allow things to heal properly. So again, mega frustrating for him, and especially how well he played against Bradford as well. So it's just hugely disappointing for the squad, but again the lads have rallied around him perfectly to kind of really give him the boost that he needs at this time.
Absolutely. Nathan Broom, of course, has been working already out there with Bezo. Johnny Jackson's already spoken about you have to kind of find that balance between yourself and the coaching team in such situations in terms of how far you push someone.
Yeah, so again, Broomy's on the cusp of being there and thereabouts too. So again, with a bony injury like he's had, it just takes a little bit of time to let it settle. But the beauty of it is the fact that it tells you if it's crossed. So again, we can just gently dose him with little bits of kind of exercise, and Bezo's wonderful, kind of just going, right, well actually this is what we can do today. So we chat every day, we figure out kind of what he can do, what he can't do. I set the stuff in the gym, and then Bezo kind of rolls out the kind of goalkeeping stuff that he can do. But again, he shouldn't be too far away. He's doing potential kind of modifications next week with a potential view for full training the week after that. So again, probably just 2 weeks away. So not bad really. So delighted for him.
Absolutely, that's really good. With Paul Ossu though, it's perhaps a little bit worse than we thought. The ankle sprain, he's in a boot at the moment, yeah?
Yeah, so again, Paul sustained a fairly innocuous kind of challenge against Crawley, I think, in the cup game. whereby again he's bounced straight back up and then carried on and then gone back down. So again, there wasn't a particularly clear mechanism as to what he's done, but again, unfortunately for him, he's going to have to spend a bit of time in that boot, but that will slowly dissipate out. But unfortunately, the ligament takes kind of 2 to 3 months to heal. So again, he's going to be on the sidelines for a little bit.
And Nathan Young-Coombs, has he gone back to Brentford at the moment?
Yeah, so Coombsy is back at Brentford with their medical staff. Just again, they're working hard with him. It's something that quite often when people are on loan, they sometimes return back to their club. Sometimes they stay, sometimes they go back. Under these circumstances, Nathan's gone back under Brentford, and he'll be flying along and chatting to him weekly, just catching up and seeing what he's doing. And yeah, it's all positive and kind of going in the right direction. So, but again, he's probably going to be about 2 months or so before he's ready to come back to the club and start training with us.
We've seen the impact that somebody like Jack Curry's made this season. Of course, he's overcome a shoulder injury, but a couple of other youngsters that kind of came through with him. Dylan Adjei-Hersey, a man you've just seen as well, Dav Fisher, how are they doing?
Yeah, so again, Dav and Dils, 2 great lads. They work their absolute socks off, which is fantastic. And again, they're mainly gym based at the moment, but just transitioning outside. So obviously Dav with his hamstring and Dils with his quad, both just beginning to run and just start that building of their fitness outside, but they're both still probably about 6 weeks away from kind of returning to training. And they will just make sure that they're right, because again, they've both had fairly substantial injuries with the ones they've received here, but no, they're a joy to work with, and so again, we'll just make sure they're right and feed them back in when they're good to go.
Just to round off, a couple of stories that are pleasing to see in terms of having them back out there. Elliot Bolton and Hussein Beatty, you've worked hard on them, yeah?
So yeah, it's a joint effort. So we've worked kind of well with Huss again. The thing with the academy products is they've got such a great work ethic. You kind of can wind them up and let them go, and they can make sure that their work gets done, and you don't have to kind of be overly strict in terms of being overseeing of them within the room and keeping an eye. But ultimately, they're very good at what they're doing, and it's kudos to the academy and the young men that they produce. But otherwise, they've kind of come through their respective knee injuries well. They're kind of both training. We're kind of at that point where we just need to be mindful with them in terms of how much they're getting into them and just make sure they're okay.
Brilliant, Tim. Thanks very much indeed for your time.
You're totally welcome, Bob.